It's your boy Joshua, and today I'll be discussing two very important things. As we all know, we are in quarantine right now, and most of us are not allowed to go outside because of the risk of getting and spreading the virus. And it's been quite clear that most aspects of our life were affected by this pandemic. Not to mention, our favorite games like Patintero and Tumbang Preso can't just be played properly as of now. Despite this, I think it's finally time for us to refresh our memory and appreciation for these Filipino games with a simple but very fun discussion. So without further ado, sit tight, grab your snacks, and enjoy the presentation. Despite what some say about Filipino street games disappearing nowadays, that is not actually true. Games such as Piko, Sipa, Torumpo, and many others are still played daily in neighborhoods, especially in barrio areas where technology hasn't yet dominated the leisure life of these children. But with the use of this so-called technology, I'll take you guys on a trip where we could potentially and hopefully learn more about these two oddly named Filipino games. The first game we have here is called Culliot. Already a weird name, right? But let me tell you this, it's only the Filipino version of the popular game Tug of War. In fact, Culliot stands for rope pulling. The origins of Tug of War is kind of confusing. Various historians have argued that this sport came to life as a part of a ritual or religious contest. It was also said that Tug of War came from Greece, as it was one of the competitions in their ancient Olympics. They call it Halkastinda, meaning I pull through. On the far east side of the world, China also had its own tug of war game during the Tang Dynasty, which was around 1400 years ago. It was said to be played to train warriors while being encouraged by drummers. In Germany, it was called dog collar or goanna pulling, where it's played instead by having a soft rope or a leather strap wrapped around the back of the neck of two opposing players. Back in Asia, at Japan, it was called kubihiki or neck pulling. It's kind of similar to dog collar, but the players are sitting instead in front of each other. Like tug of war, Culliot needs a rope. In its case, it needs a 15-meter long rope with a diameter of 3.8 meters. In terms of participants, basically anyone who has the strength to pull people by using a rope can play this game. In fact, in China, over 500 people on each end of the rope played their version of tug of war. While there's no definite answer whether it was created by early Filipinos or introduced by one of the country's colonizers, Culliot became one of the signature activities being done during fiestas and palaro. As for the game setting, Culliot is recommended to be played on an open field, usually on a grassy plain or on a muddy field, with the capacity to cater as many persons as possible. Now, how do we play this game? If we were going to play this with only two people, we need to prepare two circles, each with 3 feet in diameter and drawn about 6 feet apart. Next, each player will stand in the middle of the circle facing the other. A piece of ribbon or handkerchief will be tied onto the center line of the rope. Then, two ends of the rope should be tied separately to the waist of the players. The objective, to pull the opponent out of the circle with the use of the rope. Simple as that. Whoever pulls the opponent first out of their circle will win the game. If 4 or more people will play the game, the circle may be removed from the game and the rope should be tied around the waist of the last player of each team. Like other games, this should be played with care as participants might be in risk of getting injured in the process of tightly pulling on the rope. So what do we need to do in order to beat our enemies? Well, you're in luck, because I'm also going to share some tips. Tip number 1. Always put the strongest person in the back. As much as possible, you should also mix up your weakest and strongest players so you don't have a row of weak players keeping you down. Tip number 2. Get in the right position. Straighten your body as you lean backwards while also keeping your feet planted on the ground as tight as possible. Your feet should also be slightly far from each other than your shoulders. Tip number 3. Take small steps backwards. Taking big steps will most likely cause you to fall down. try to use as much leg power as possible. Don't try wasting energy with your arms because you'll quickly run down of energy, hence losing your grip in the process. And finally, coordination is key. Always communicate with your team. Try to implement some sort of rhythm as you pull together on the rope so you won't waste any necessary energy on unnecessary movement. As we already know, in Culliot, we pull our opponents in order to win. But when it comes to Dinoran, we push our opponents instead. Like Culliot, there's no clear origin to this Filipino game, but the name itself is believed to come from the Tagalog word Dora, meaning spit or to spit. It is said that Dinoran's origin is loosely based around the custom among older people to spit on the ground when one meets someone he strongly dislikes. Similarly, the United States has a game called Push and Pull that follows the nature of Dinoran, although there is no bamboo involved. Another game of theirs is called Gladiator Hands, where players match up their hands while trying to knock the other one off balance by pushing on them in quick slapping motions. Players can fake a push to try and get their partner to fall off balance, but they cannot move their feet. In this game, instead of a rope, a bamboo pole is used, and instead of pulling the opponent, the players push the bamboo pole to the opposing side. The bamboo for the game is usually 15 feet in length and 3 to 4 inches in diameter. Also, instead of wrapping a marker in the centerpiece of the object, a handkerchief, a stone, or basically anything that can be used as a marker will be dropped in between the two teams. Dinoran, like Culliot, is also recommended to be played on an open area. Before the game, two teams of equal number will be formed to face each other. Participants shall be composed of 8 to 12 children of both sexes, aging from 7 to 9. One team holds on one end of the bamboo, and the other on the opposite end. As said earlier, the marker will then be dropped on the ground, separating both teams equally instead of wrapping it around the bamboo center. One unique thing about Dinoran is each player has to shout go and spit on the ground before trying to push the other team back. It is kind of a ritual to commemorate the tradition it was based upon. The group that would succeed in crossing the marker into the other team's area and pushing the opponent behind the enemy end line will win the game. Despite the spitting and all that, this should be played merely as a form of fun and entertainment and not to be taken seriously. Both teams should also practice care because of the risk of pushing the bamboo too hard on the opponent. Games, without a doubt, are a universal phenomenon. Adults and children alike maintain their own kind of games at certain points in their lives. Hopefully, knowing these games help you in understanding their importance as a part of our culture as Filipinos. And as always, stay safe and thanks for watching.